Hi everyone. We're just going to start in a few minutes, just so that a few for other attendees can join as well. Thank you. Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're thrilled to have you here for our webinar on setting up email accounts and workbooks. My name is Heather. I'm a member of the support team and I'll guide you through the process of setting up email accounts, email signatures, and Dropbox and workbooks. Thank you to those who have joined us previously, and to our new participants, welcome. If you have missed any of our previous sessions or wish to rewatch any recordings, they are available on our website. We run these webinars every other Wednesday, and the next one is meant to take place on the 20th of August, which will be on connecting the Outlook and workbooks. The agenda for today's session will be covering how to set up email accounts in workbooks, email signatures, Dropbox, some best practices and tips, and we'll also have a quick recap of today's session. And finally, we'll open up for some questions, Q&A towards the end. So before we discuss a little bit more about how to set up email accounts in workbooks, let's have a quick look into what are the email delivery methods available within workbooks. So within workbooks there are four main email delivery methods, which are Microsoft Office 365, Google Gmail, SMTP email server, and workbooks. Workbooks isn't really a preferred option. It is just there so that users on free edition can test it when evaluating workbooks. The preferred option for sending emails out of workbooks is Microsoft Office 365. And within the configuration screen, system admins can configure the default delivery method, which we'll look into, which will have a deeper dive when we're in the product. Both Gmail and Microsoft Office 365 are pretty straightforward to set up, and they're very subtle differences. So the differences are, with Microsoft Office 365, users can make use of the West functionality, which is an extension in Workbooks, and the purpose of that extension is to get your Outlook and Workbooks talking, so you can seamlessly move data across both the platforms. And with Office 365, you do have the added benefit of where you can apply outbound email policies in Office 365, such as spam and virus scanning and appending signatures. Um, as I mentioned, both are very similar, so both of them have great deliverability and are quite reliable for sending emails, which means when you send an email to your customer, it does seem like it's coming from a trusted source, and both the platforms allow users to send from multiple email addresses. So, if a system admin was to set up an email account in Workbooks, they would start by configuring the default email delivery method within configuration, so that when a non-system admin user does go to set up a new email account, the default email delivery method is already populated. Ideally, most of the fields within the new email account page should be populated. So um, it is also advisable that system admin ensures that the pop-up window is not blocked on the browser for users, so that when they try and save the new email account window, or when trying to save the configuration, the authentication window that pops up for Microsoft or Gmail is there, and the users can complete by entering their username and password. And finally, if a system admin is setting up email accounts, it is worth checking if the sharing permissions are correct. For example, if the system admin is setting up a email address which is for a shared mailbox, i.e. support@myemail.com, it is worth making sure that it is shared with the user groups that will be using this email address to send emails out of workbooks. Email accounts for non-system admin user. Please review if when trying to set up new email accounts in Workbooks. Make sure if the email account that you're setting uses the correct email delivery method. And then, as I mentioned in my previous slide, most fields within that window should be auto-populated. Um, and then once you click save on the new email account window, it should open up a window for Microsoft Authentication or Google Authentication. And once that is completed, click save. It will bring you back to Workbooks. And finally, if you want other users in the business to access to send emails via the email address you're saving, please update the sharing permission accordingly. Moving on to email signatures. Within Workbooks, we can create email signatures, and we can share multiple email signatures with our users. And also, we can configure a default email signature so that a default signature is populated each time you try and draft a new email. Email Dropbox is a email integration within Workbooks, and the purpose of Email Dropbox is Workbooks Dropbox is to bring in emails or attachments um, from emails from your email client by CC or BCCing in the Workbooks Dropbox address. And it is quite a useful tool, as if you because it allows you to um, it has the functionality. If the object reference for a record in workbook is entered, it will then associate that email to that record or record type and also a thing to note is when sending emails into Dropbox, we need to make sure that the authorized sender list is updated, so is updated. Sorry, excuse me. Apologies. Let's quickly jump into the product to see how we set up an email account. Right. Okay, let's start by looking into how a system admin would go about setting up email accounts in Workbooks, and that will be by going into configuration, email integration, email settings, and over here is where we would configure the default email delivery method. So we would have to choose between one of these options. So we will go with Microsoft 365, Office 365, because this is the preferred one. Finally go into email account. I won't click new email account here, but if when we click this button, um, we will get this window, because I already got this window set up, where you can see our email address and display name, and most information is automatically populated. And we also have this message saying the connection requires permission granted from Microsoft. And let's click on save here. Great. Because my Microsoft details are already saved on my browser, it has automatically granted me a token um, for Workbooks to send emails using my email address. So, and we can see the message has now changed. And as mentioned, if I was to share this with other user groups or other users to send emails using my email address from Workbooks, I would update that here. Right. Um, so let's look at this one, which is a shared inbox, and I would like to I'd like to allow one other user to share to send emails using this email address. So if I was to do that, I would go here. Sorry. Let's say there we go. Customer services team. I would like. Sorry, apologies. Let's allow this. Let's update the sharing permission so that the customer services users within this user group can send emails using that email address, support@workbooks.com. Let's click save and close here, and save. Let's close this window. So what we have done here essentially is we have an email account in Workbooks which multiple users within a user group can send email via. And if a non-system admin user was meant to um, set up a new email account, they would do so by going into their preferences, clicking on email accounts, and clicking on new email account again. And after that, it's pretty much the same process. Now, let's talk about creating email signatures. So with email signatures, you can have multiple email signatures shared with you. And as I mentioned, you can also have a default email signature, which is automatically populated when you try and draft a new email. So let's try and drafting a new email here now. And let's click, let's say Heather Arf, but there's nothing that is populated here. But I can see there are there are a few email signatures shared with me over here. So if I go here and press email signature, I can see there's an email signature populated here. But so if you're using a shared mailbox to regularly send out emails using the same email signature, it might be worth configuring a default email signature for that email address. And the purpose of doing so is to avoid room for human error, so that the incorrect email signature is not selected. So if we come out of that window, so this is a default email address I want to set for the default email signature I want to set for the support email address. So all I have to do is check that checkbox, click save and close. And now if I go click new email, and by default, every time we draft a new email, that is the email signature that will be used and the default email address that will be set. Following on from there, let's talk about the email Dropbox. Apologies. Sorry, let's delete that one. So to create a new email Dropbox is quite straightforward. It is as simple as just clicking on create Dropbox. What that does is that it will generate a Dropbox email address for you. I would suggest downloading a V card and saving it to your email client, i.e. Outlook or Gmail, so that instead of having to copy this address each time, you can just in the BCC or CC field, type in the contact name for the Dropbox email address. And lastly, to ensure that the emails that you will you will always be the authorized sender on your for your Dropbox. But if you would like your colleagues to access the to be able to send emails into workbooks using Dropbox, I would suggest adding a new authorized sender here and clicking save, and this would ensure that they too are able to send emails, bring emails into workbooks using your Dropbox address. Some best practices and tips. As mentioned earlier, Microsoft Office 365 is the preferred email delivery method. It is advisable that each user sets up their email account and to avoid issues around sharing permissions when sending emails out of workbooks. Because if a system admin creates email accounts for other users, they might not update the permissions accordingly, and you wouldn't see that email address come up on the from field when drafting an email. Sending email via workbooks creates a communication history as it is recorded against a record. So if you were to send an email on an opportunity or a person record, it would be recorded against that object or record, and then it is easier to go back to or report on. And if you are going to be using the SMTP server, here we have our knowledge base article where you can talk about, sorry, where you can review the configuration required. Um, so the recap of today's session, for system admins, it's important to remember to update the email delivery method in configuration. So this is so that whenever a new user tries to create a new email account, the default email delivery method will be auto-populated. Also, when creating email accounts, please remember to update the sharing permissions so that other users on the in the system are able to choose that email address as a send on the from field to send from. Multiple email signatures can be configured. Um, and it is important to and it is worthwhile selecting a default one. Um, And then finally, as I mentioned, and as I mentioned earlier, it might be worth downloading your Dropbox V card so that every time you don't have to copy the actual address, you can just type in the name of the contact record for the Dropbox address within Outlook or Gmail. And then finally, remember to update the list of authorized senders for your Dropbox. Any questions? When sending emails via Dropbox, as long as the object reference is included in the subject line, it should or in the body, it should come into Workbooks. And the format of the object reference has to be as it is within Workbooks. So let's say if it's a person record, it should be PERS-1. Um, so you could choose to have scheduled emails. Go, sorry, just for the benefit of other attendees on the call, let me just read out the question. How would you include reports within the emails you send from workbooks? So um, you could export, well, I think the easiest way would be to set up a scheduled email to send to include your reports, and you can include them as within the body of the email as attachment. um, yeah, I think that would be the better way to do it. Also, just to remind, there was a previous webinar on sending scheduled emails. So feel free to check see go through that webinar on our website. Um, Would that, sorry, I've got another question. Would that display, sorry, a follow-up question to my, on the previous question on sending reports via email. Would that display as just a report reference that they need to open, or table or chart? So if you download, if you export the report, that would go out as a CSV. But if you have it within the body of your email, it will be a clickable link, and it will be a rendering of the report. And likewise, charts can be either attached. I think charts can only be attached as as a PNG file or an image um, on the email. Thank you, everyone. Um, the next drop-in webinar will be on getting on how Outlook and Workbooks uh, can be connected, and what functionality is available, or what or how that can be useful, which will be on the 20th of August. As always, do click on the question mark symbol within Workbooks to access our knowledge base, or bookmark our knowledge base, workbooks.com/help, and to review some of the articles there, or if you have any questions. And if you're stuck with anything within Workbooks, please do feel free to reach out to support um, or your account manager. Thank you for attending. See you next time.